Welcome, and thanks for joining me as we discuss the top 5 reasons for using authentic resources in your world language classroom. My name is Terry Hammett, and I am an instructional strategist with Wayside Publishing. As a language teacher, I have always loved using authentic resources with my students. During this video, we will briefly examine the many benefits associated with using authentic resources with our students. What are authentic resources anyway? They are written or audiovisual texts or any other materials that are designed for speakers of the target language. They are not created for classroom use, although they can be easily adapted to the classroom when they are selected based on their appeal to students, their accessibility, and their alignment with your curriculum. Guiding learners through interpreting authentic resources is one of ACTFL's 6 core practices. In case you haven't heard of these practices, they are powerful tools that advance core learning. ACTFL has determined that all world language teachers should be implementing all 6 of these practices to provide the best pathway to proficiency for their students. So let's go ahead and take a look and see why using authentic resources is so important. First, using authentic resources gives students the opportunity to see how language is really used in target cultures. They provide students with comprehensible input and promote comprehensible output. Real-life language, whether read or heard, can be very different from textbook language. I remember studying French for several years in middle and high school and really thinking I was pretty good in the language. I was in for an abrupt awakening when I arrived in France to spend a college semester and could understand very little of what was being said around me. During my years of study, I had rarely encountered authentic text, be it a listening text or a reading text. It didn't take me long to realize that it is our job as language educators to prepare learners to navigate through what they'll be exposed to outside of the classroom. So when we teach students using authentic documents that are age appropriate, context appropriate, and scaffolded for our students' proficiency levels, we help them be successful. Authentic documents that are rich in visual supports and cognates are best for lower proficiency levels, but also assist learners in accessing documents at higher levels as well. As students understand more vocabulary and structures, fewer visual supports and cognates are needed. On this slide, we have a poster for a festival in the city of Bayonne, a transportation plan of the city, a train schedule, and a map. All of these resources can be easily accessed by students as early as the novice level, depending on the task asked of them. Authentic resources are for students at all levels of proficiency. Second, authentic resources often pique students' interest because learners are familiar with basic concepts about many topics from within their own culture. As they come to understand these concepts in other cultures, they rely on their own background knowledge to support them, to make predictions, and to create hypotheses about their learning. Let's just take as an example the very basic human concept of bread. In the United States, bread often comes in the form of a white sandwich loaf like Wonder Bread. But bread in other cultures is exceedingly different. Learning about and maybe even tasting bread from Germany, from Mexico, from Senegal, from other cultures helps learners broaden their views and widen their own perspectives. The background knowledge that we just talked about is experientially based. Students know what menus look like. They know what a general talent competition looks like, what a cooking show looks like, an illustrated children's book, a map, travel brochures, pie charts, and other informational graphics. The predictions and hypotheses that students make based on background knowledge actually increase learners' ability to understand that material and to retrieve it later. according to James M. Lang in Small Teaching, Everyday Lessons from the Science of Learning. Thirdly, authentic resources are intrinsically embedded with culture, from the way one looks at the world to the way one interacts with the world. By using these materials, teachers help learners gain not only linguistic competence, but also intercultural competence. Students see examples of what they would observe in the everyday target culture, and they begin to arrive at a clearer understanding of the products, practices, and perspectives of native speakers of the language. Learning becomes more meaningful and relevant for them. Authentic resources provide students with comprehensible input, and they promote comprehensible output about cultural products, practices, and perspectives in context. To integrate language and culture, you might have students use art to discuss perspectives about those in power, the government, the army, or the church. You might use a comic to highlight how April Fool's is practiced in French-speaking countries. You might use a documentary to identify stereotypes and the breaking of barriers in Colombia in terms of who plays certain musical instruments. Fourth, expanded opportunities for differentiation and scaffolding are also an important reason for using authentic resources. As the saying goes, adapt the task and not the text. By following this little adage, the same text can often be used with students of various proficiency levels within the same classroom. As we consider adapting tasks for the same document, let's take a look at this public service announcement for managing germs from the Quebec Health Ministry. In interpreting this document, novice level students could be asked to identify some basic facts and phrases, or to just identify keywords that get at the heart of the text. Intermediate students could be asked to determine the main idea and key information, and advanced students could be asked to point out the underlying messages and supporting details found within the document. All students can make comparisons with public service announcements within their own communities. And last but not least, when students realize they can understand and use the information found in a document that is destined for someone in the target culture, they get a sense of achievement. Nothing breeds success like success. These learners now have millions more people with whom to communicate and many more friends to make. So, summing up our 5 reasons to teach using authentic resources. First, authentic resources are real-life examples of everyday language. They provide comprehensible input and promote comprehensible output. Second, authentic resources are high interest and can be highly motivational for students. Third, culture is intrinsically embedded in authentic resources. Fourth, authentic resources provide multiple opportunities for differentiation and scaffolding of learning activities. And lastly, authentic resources provide students with a sense of achievement and success. If you find this topic interesting and would like to learn more, please look at our blogs that are listed here and you will find more information. Thank you.